All right. Okay, great. Um, Thank you for agreeing to sit down with us and do a recorded interview. Just for the record here, it's Thursday, May 31st, 2018, and we're at the home of Miss Jean Wilson, 559 East Cheltenham Avenue in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And so we're going to be asking you questions today about what happened a long time ago,
Right.
on
A real long
October
time ago.
26, 1982, to be precise. Um, and there were events that occurred at a place called the Sweet Love Lounge, which is on 25th and Cambria here in Philadelphia. And so we'll just jump right into it. Um, were you at the Sweet Love Lounge on that day? And if so, why?
I was. I was working. I was a barmaid that night.
Okay.
Um,
How did you come to be a barmaid there?
my sister's boyfriend owned the bar,
Okay.
so it was more like a family thing. We just, everybody worked.
Okay.
Hmm.
And was your sister Geraldine?
Yes.
And the boyfriend who owned the bar was Marvin Nelson?
Yes.
Okay. And so on that day, October 26th, um, what happened that day? What do you remember?
I remember that night. It was hot, and there was a few people in the bar. There was a girl that was playing a Pac-Man machine, and the door was open, and we should have a brick to keep the door from closing. So this guy came in, and he said something to her. Just so happened I was sitting at the front of the bar, behind the bar, but I was at the front. And he said something to her and was telling her, you need to leave. You need to leave out now. And she that got kind of peeved with him uh, because she was playing the game. But he kept telling her, you need to leave. And he was serious about it. So she finally left. And when she left, another guy came in and he kicked the brick from the door so the door would close. And I was saying, why would he do that? And I was saying, why would you close the door? It's hot and the air conditioner's not working. Well, then that's when they said it was a stick up. So
And do you remember how many guys came in, or at all, or?
I think it was two, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Can you ask that question one more time?
Okay. Do you remember how many guys came in?
I believe it was two.
Okay. And what happened? Um, how did the robbery proceed?
Well, they actually told everybody to get on the floor and to take their wallets and things out their pockets or whatever. And then one of them came behind the bar and said to me, asked, take the money out the cash register, of course. And then he asked me where was the safe, and I kept saying safe. We don't have no safe. We don't have a safe. And he kept saying you do have a safe. You have a safe. I said we don't have a safe. So after they stuck the bar up, they told everybody don't get up, don't do nothing, and then they left.
Okay. Um, and did you know any of the men?
I knew I can't think his name. Anyway, one of them was a girlfriend of me and my sister's son. Her name was Molly B.
Okay.
I can't remember his name, but actually, we knew both. They knew me.
They knew you.
Yeah, they knew me. So
So you
they was
recognized
like
them.
neighborhood guys.
And did you?
How did you know that they knew you?
They called me by my name, Jean.
So
I mean, cause like I said, one of them I knew their mother. Their mother used to come in and drink. We knew them because they were younger people. They were younger than
right.
us. But they was like what we call just renegades. They just
Right.
was bad.
So the mother that you knew was Molly. I
Molly.
believe
Hmm.
she had at least two sons. One of them was John Adamson, who was known as Little Wine,
Right.
and then another one was Big Wine.
Big one. Right. Right.
Do you remember if it was either one
It
of
was
them?
one of them.
Okay. Um, and did you call the police after us?
I did. Yes, I
Okay.
did.
And they ended up coming over.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a little bit more about that. But one question I want to ask you very directly is, did Dennis McKeithan rob you? Was he part of that group?
I never saw him.
Okay, so you don't recall seeing Dennis McKeithan in that bar on that day.
Nope.
And did you, if he had have been there, would you have known him? Which is state, did you know
Yeah.
who he was?
I knew Dennis. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you happen to recall what his nickname at the time was?
No, because I used to call him
Yeah,
Dennis.
you call him Dennis. All right.
How'd you know him from?
The neighborhood. We all lived in the same neighborhood, right? Like you live around this corner, I live on this block, you live on that block. You know,
All right, and so, and he wasn't there.
I didn't see him.
Okay. Now, do you remember? So you called the police,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually a number of people went to trial
Mm-hmm.
for these charges. Do you remember much about that trial? What it was like for you? What happened?
It was, for me, it was like, well, at the time I was pregnant. So it was really aggravating because everybody kept telling me, be calm, this and that. And then the detectives was trying to tell me what to say. And you knew the three guys. And I kept saying, well, I didn't see three guys. I saw two. I don't know who y'all saw. And they kept saying, no, it was three. But they kept trying to tell me what I saw. And I kept telling them I didn't see but two guys. And whoever had the gun, it was a gun. It was a gun. The one that came behind the bar had the gun. But I kept telling them it was two of them that came in. One of them told actually it was the guy's sister that was at the machine, and he kept telling her to leave. So
Going back to tell a little bit about the Pac-Man machine again.
the Pac-Man machine was when she was playing the game, and he came in, and he went over to her, and he was telling her, "You need to leave. You need to leave, and you need to leave now." And she kept saying, "No, they was like fussing back and forth. I'm playing the game. No, I just put my money in here, this and that." And he kept telling her, "No, you need to leave now."
Okay.
So she, she gave him this old funny look or whatever, and then she left.
And when the trial came,
Mm.
you say you were pregnant. You remember it being a hassle. You
Yeah.
remember police telling you what to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you remember actually any of your testimony from that time?
It was mostly the same what I just said.
I can say one thing that was a little different, I mean, and importantly different, at that time, you had said that Dennis was one of the people. Do you remember that?
I think what happened was they told me, see, this is what they told me. They told me he was outside. He was the lookout man. So I said to them, well, if he was the lookout man, how could I see him? I didn't see him. And I kept saying I didn't see him. But then they kept showing me these pictures, and they kept saying, this the guy was outside. And this is the two guys that came in the bar. So all three of them was in the robbery. This the one that had the gun. They kept on and they kept on till they confused me. And if Dennis was sitting at that table, obviously I had to tell him that he was one of them.
Okay. Well, I understand that in the years that followed, you had some struggles and then a transformative experience.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us just a little bit about that? The years that after the trial.
Oh, well, so much had happened after that. I got strung out on drugs and alcohol. Well, I was already on alcohol, but I really got strung out on drugs and for years. And I had just recognized after that. One day I saw my granddaughter, in which she was a little girl, and she didn't know who I was. She didn't know me. And so I asked my daughter, I said, well, why is she hiding from me? She said, because she don't know you, Mom. Well, that's how long I had been out there. I had been out there just that long. She was only like, at that time, she was about maybe 3. Um, but my whole family had just got just tangled up in so much stuff. And me and my sister and my nephews, we was all sprung out on drugs. And I got tired. I was so tired of living like that. I was sick of myself. I didn't have no friends. And I mean, nobody was nobody's friend. It got to that point. And so I tried to go to church. And so when I did start going to church, one of the pastors came to me and asked me, said, "You want to get your life straight? You want to get off these drugs?" And I said, "Yeah." So he said, "Okay, we're going to send you to a program." And the church paid for it. And they sent me to this place called Teen Challenge. And I was there for about 11.5 months. I was here in Philadelphia, and then they sent me to Tennessee. And I've been straight since then.
That's a wonderful story.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you came back, you continued to be involved with your church,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you still are now, right?
Yeah.
And so at some point, I understand that Dennis got in touch with you.
He did.
Via your pastor. Can
Right.
you tell us a little bit how that came
My
to
pastor came to me one Sunday, and he said he wanted to talk to me after the service was over. And so we went in the office and sat down, and he said, "I want to read this letter to you." And so he read the letter, and I was sitting there, and I'm saying to myself, that's. He said, "Do you know anything about this?" So I said, "Yeah." I said, "That happened years ago." I said, "When the bar had got robbed, and he must have was one of the guys that was." I told my pastor this. I said he was the one that they locked up, but I never told him that he was with them. I said, but they badgered me so much till I got confused. I said, and I didn't even know he was still in jail because everybody went their own separate ways, and life just kept going until he wrote that letter. But it was somebody in the church that knew him and told him that I know where Gene is at. I think that's what happened. Yeah. And he sent my pastor that letter. So my pastor asked me what did I want to do about it. He said, "You want to try to help this guy?" I said, "Yeah." I said, because one thing, he'd been in jail all that time for nothing.
And it was from that, shortly after, that you ended up hearing from me.
Right,
and it's
right.
taken a little bit of time, but now we're
Right,
here
right.
recording and telling the story.
Right.
So I'm just going to ask you a couple more questions. One is, and I'm not doing this to be rude, but just to so that it's clear, are you telling the truth?
Yes.
And do you have any reason to lie about this? Or?
Not at all.
Okay. And really, my last question, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
The only thing I want to say was, I really feel bad about him being here all those years, and I'm not even knowing about it, but I felt like maybe it was my fault that he's there, and if it was anything I could do to help get him out, or, whatever the outcome would be, I'd be willing to help.
Well, we thank you for your help, but of course that doesn't mean lying.
Right.
You wouldn't do that.
No.
That would go against your beliefs.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think that's it. Thank you very much. All right.